that we just killed a planet, maybe one of you can tell me what's going on. Because between assassin droids, a Sith Lord that looks like he sleeps with vibroblades, and being target practice for a Republic warship, I was better off in my cell.
The Republic warship was the Harbinger. It was seized on its way to Telos by the Sith. They sought you, Jedi.
The Harbinger was on its way to Telos? I mean, we kind of already understood that from like the hundreds of audio logs we looked at. Why are these Sith looking for me?
Because you are the last of the Jedi. Once you are dead, then they have won.
I'm not a Jedi, not any longer. But I was exiled from the Jedi Order. They're lying in a pool of their own blood. I swear, these dark side options are like really, really edgy. Like, holy crap. I was exiled from the Jedi Order.
Exile or not, the Sith believe you to be a Jedi Knight, and that is all that matters.
Last of the Jedi, that can't be true.
The Jedi Civil War destroyed the Jedi. By the war's end, barely 100 Jedi remained. Many fell in battle, and many more were seduced by Revan's teachings.
Yeah, but Revan was a light guy in the end. I mean, I guess he took so many with him initially. Jedi Civil War. Many fell in battle. It's not referring to the events of the... I know Revan seduced... I know a lot were seduced by his teachings, but I thought I didn't think what happened in KOTOR was called the Jedi Civil War. I did not think that's what it was. And I thought the Sith were not its own entity or anything. I guess KOTOR is the first time the Sith really became their own entity. I'm just, if you think about it, like in Star Wars, because this is like 3,000 years before the movies, you know. What about the Jedi on Dantooine and Coruscant?
The Jedi Academy on Dantooine is nothing more than a crater that echoes with the ghosts of
That's right,
Star.
Malak blew it up in the last
game.
game.
The Jedi Temple on Coruscant lies empty. The waters in the Room of 1,000 Fountains have fallen still, in reverence to the fallen Jedi, and those now lost. Many Jedi blamed the teachings of the Jedi Masters for Revan's fall, and the civil war that followed.
If any survivors still live, we need to warn them.
Perhaps, but they are Jedi no longer. If the Sith have not already slain them, then they will not help you, nor can you help them.
Before you said the Harbinger was on its way to Telos?
Yes, to aid in the recovery effort there. Many roads lead to Telos, including ours.
Not like we have much of a choice, the Peragus astrogation charts being what they are.
It is where we must go, and where the Harbinger was bound before our unfortunate encounter on Peragus.
How did you know I was on board the Harbinger?
You were difficult to find, but coincidence was on our side. When I learned that you were on the vessel, I knew the Sith would not be far behind. When we intercepted the Harbinger, it was crippled, drifting in space. It was a simple matter to board the vessel and rescue you. Unknown to me, however, the Sith were already on board. Just as we made the jump to hyperspace, they fired upon us, nearly destroying the Ebon Hawk.
How come I don't remember any of this?
Whatever occurred on board the Harbinger had rendered you unconscious. Though your thoughts were faint, I was still able to find you, sealed in one of the cargo holds.
So, I'm guessing HK was the one to do that. That's a set of unusual set of coincidences.
True. But as one trained in the Force, you know that true coincidences are rare.
Tell that to J.J. Abrams. R2 wakes up conveniently as they blow up. I mean, okay. I mean, that's probably something that they're going to explain further in Episode 8. But if they don't, which I think is a definite possibility, then it will forever be the convenient plot hole. How did we get to Peragus?
I do not know how the Ebon Hawk was able to make it to
BD whoop.
Be silent. We're having a conversation here.
Yo, T3 knows what's up. B D. He says he repaired the ship and got us to Peragus.
Repaired this ship, my eye. Next thing you know, it's gonna claim credit for saving our skins. If that little noisemaker says it repaired the ship once, then it can prove it by doing it again. Go on, get!
Dwoo. We got away from the Sith. Now how do we stop them?
That is not an easy question to answer. This threat is greater than you know, and I do not believe it is a battle that can be fought.
If we don't stop them, they're going to keep coming. They're eager to fight us. I say we fight back. That's the response I give them. What do you think we should do? If we don't stop them, they're going to keep coming.
Look, enough with the we already.
We cannot hope to triumph against them alone. To stop them, you will need weapons, allies, and a teacher. In the end, I fear it may not be enough.
So literally one Jedi versus the entire Sith Empire. Seems a pretty interesting situation. We have no other choice.
You fought in the Mandalorian Wars, and it cost you everything. Are you willing to sacrifice as much again?
The Mandalorian Wars were my choice. That doesn't mean shit. If this is still your choice. I mean, you're forced to make a decision. But even then, that kind of implies that you're going to lose more now than you would have lost the Mandalorian Wars. This is self-defense, not war. It is war. If these Sith threaten us, then they die. We must stop them. There's no other option. None of this interests me. Could I go play a different game? We must stop them. There's no other option.
You are not listening to me. This is not like any field of battle you have ever fought in. Think carefully on your choice. If you choose to fight, if you choose war, it is a path few turn from once the first steps are taken. It carries with it a terrible price. And in the end, you may find you have nothing left to sacrifice.
I have nothing to lose now. How bad could it be? Now, the one thing I never understood in Star Wars was how someone could make a lot of evil, fucked up choices in their life and never turn to the dark side. Whereas a Jedi or Sith, when they do that, it affects their affinity with the Force. Now, I think it puts into question what the Force is. Now, of course, the technical explanation for it is the midi-chlorian count of the individual, which is stupid, but it is canon. It was mentioned in Phantom Menace, therefore, it is canon. It's bullshit, but it's canon. Just because it takes some of the mysticism out of it. But I mean, I always wondered, because she says once you start down the path of war, it's a path you can't turn from. If a Jedi could lose connection with the Force, do a lot of really screwed up shit, in their life, and not turn to the dark side. What if they're just an evil human being and not on the dark side of the Force? Is that plausible? Is that a plausible idea in the Star Wars universe? Does anyone watching know what I'm saying? Because I'd like to hear your thoughts on that in the comments. This is a Star Wars video, so let's talk about Star Wars a little bit more. But I've always been more interested in the more human aspects of the Star Wars universe, just because the Force is such a mystical element. Where does it? How real is it? I have nothing to lose now. How bad could it be? I turned away from war once. I can do it again. If I do not try, then we have lost anyway. Exactly. A Jedi's life is sacrifice. It is a small price to pay. Exactly.
Your fool's words echo of a Jedi. You have much to learn. But we have spoken long enough, and my wound pains me. If you have other questions, find me in the crew quarters. There we will speak more.
Hey, don't stop your long, boring rants on my account. I was just getting sleepy-eyed.
Also in private, we will be mercifully free from the opinions of imbeciles and fools.
Look, not like I care or anything, but you might want to go check on our passenger, especially with that hand of hers.
She seemed well enough for someone who had just lost her hand. I'm sure she can take care of herself. You're right, she may need help. Can you handle things up here?
We're on autopilot until we hit Telos. Until then, a droid could fly this thing. Besides, I think our passenger could use your help.
As you said. If he'll shut you up, then I'll go check on her. Man, there is absolutely no reason to be annoyed by the characters in this game. Absolutely no reason. There's no reason to be such an edgelord either. I'll go check on her. Light side points gained, somehow. We freaking blew up Paragus 2, and we did not get dark side points. Would have done it again. That, or some of the light side choices we made in that conversation outweighed the dark side choices we made. Okay. Accept. Close. Okay, cool. Yeah, like I said, I love the music here. Looks just like the Ebon Hawk from the last game. Security system. Cargo hold. Cockpit. Communications. That's where we are now. Engine room. Exit ramp. Garage. Main hold. Oh yeah, I remember there was a damn KOTOR. I love that game so much. I remember how there's the thing in that game where some separate creature lays eggs on your ship, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of little like no. I remember now. So some sort of trader or whatever wants you to make a shipment of these little baby things to another planet. And so they run all over your ship. And you have the choice to kill them, and you could pet them, but I could never bring myself to kill any of them. Damn, man, that makes me want to play KOTOR. I just remember like going, what the hell? Main hold, we just looked at that. Medical bay. Okay, port dormitory, that's where she is. Starboard dormitory. Oh yeah, I also remember when, what is it? It was the girl who could not talk intelligibly was on your ship, and I forget what you did with her. I don't remember if she became your companion or if you dropped her off on another planet. I forget. Storage compartment. Oh, we have an HK in there. Yo, I bet that's 47. Log out. 47. Isn't 47, like, statistically, like, one of the most common... If you ask someone between 1 and 100, the number that people are most likely to come up with is 47. Or is it 37? It's either 37 or 47. Or 42, actually. This looks like the remains of an HK unit, but older and more corroded than the one you encountered in Paragus. Its power core still carries a charge, but a number of critical parts appear to be missing. You know, wouldn't it be such a cool angle if HK-47 was the villain on the Paragus 2, but because you're not Revan, he didn't know who you were and was told to attack you. You know, wouldn't that be kind of neat? Of course, they'd have to set him up better than what they did, that HK joined the station. And I think a lot of people would be outraged that you killed HK, though it'd be a really different angle. Diagnose the droid. Dwoo. Wait, what? Is missing 4 critical components. A droid processor, a placement droid chassis, a control cluster that's supposed to be stored in the chassis, and its vocabulator. Take the vocabulator and insert it in its core. I guess that's the only one I have. You've installed the droid's vocabulator. Now he can call us meat bags. Okay. So that's something, we basically upgrade HK over time. That's kind of neat. So we have to find all the parts and then plug them in, and then we should be good. Leave Ebonhawk, but we're in space. Can I try this? You may not leave the Ebonhawk while in transit. Of course, we're in space. Come on, that's stupid. Okay, so that's one dormitory. Workbench, gotta have that. I might take a little bit of a pause to look at that. T3's working on the engines back here. DD, could you please stop moving around the ship? It's hard to find you. Do you know where that HK and droid in the cargo bay came from? You look like you've suffered a lot of damage over the years. DUD, how much damage? D reap. So you lost a lot of programs in your behavior core in addition to the damage to your frame? DUD. Well, I'm sure you'll gain that skill back. I'm glad I have you along. Pray you don't lose any more of your functionality, or I'll sell you for parts. Nah, there we go. I guess the way I don't know how much of these choices give you light or dark points. Maybe it's like, I guess, unless it's in a conversation that matters, it's just neutral. I think I might be able to upgrade your memory core. Influence success, DD. Alright, let me take a look. DD, success, Dreet. All done. How do you feel? DD. Do your computer skills. D3 has gained +1 intelligence. Oh yeah, he's smarter now. Dreet DD. What do you mean? I faded out there for a second? You were shut down. DD. I had other questions for you. Do you know where the HK joined the failure? Duo. Okay. That didn't sound very convincing. Are you sure you don't know? DD. Okay, I had other questions for you. Do you look like you're in need of some routine maintenance? DD. Just sit still. This won't take long. Let me tackle the main chassis for... Oh, okay, let me see. This won't take long. Oh no, it failed! Whoops. Must have left my hydro spanner in there. DDD. DDD. We'll try again later. For now, I have questions for you. Okay. Mind if I try and upgrade your memory core again? Nope. Don't have anything else. You weren't complaining last time. Seems to me what I did before worked. DD. Okay, fine. Never mind. I'm asking some other questions. Can you upgrade an item for me? Do I really want him to upgrade an item? Because we're on the ship right now. You know, do I really need that? Do I really need that? Oh, that's right. I have the vibroblade here. Upgrade item. What can I upgrade it with? Oh, a ton of stuff, probably. Agrinium and grip. Uh-huh. Bows 1 slashing. 1-3 criticals. 1 ion versus droid. 1-4 ion. Keen. Molinine is an ideal building material for melee weapons. No idea what keen is. Mild Deveronian edge sounds cool, though. Can release poison. I like that. Sounds legit. Assemble. Da 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 da. Oh, you mean we're not playing the Avengers game right now? Military suit. Let's see what we got here. Overlay. All right. So that wasn't much. Influence gained. Experience points. Cool. T3 is a cool little guy. Let's go find Kreia here, wherever she be. This is the engine room. Yeah, this is where the little girl from the last game was hanging out, who spoke a weird language. I think we dropped her off on Tatooine or something like that. Kreia.
Have you come for more answers? There is little more left to give.
She sounds very tired. When you lost your hand, I felt it too.
That does not surprise me, any more than you hearing my thoughts when we were apart. The pain, however, was unexpected. If I could, I would have shielded you from it.
How thoughtful. If I could, I would have protected you. Hug it out, hug it out. Consider pain a lesson. What would have happened if you had died? Oh God. If I could, I would have protected you.
Save your pity. I am here to save you, not the other way around.
Hey, let me ask this question. What happened if you had died?
I do not know. I fear that the consequences would have been more extreme.
Some sort of cardiac arrest? I felt like my hand was dipped in molten carbonite.
Then the sensation you would feel upon my death might be less than that, though much quicker.
Would it have killed me?
Possibly, yes.
Wow.
I fear it works both ways. I would not wish to test it, nor should you.
You know, this kind of, this bond between members. I remember they talked about it in the last game, too. I really wish they explored that a little bit more in, like, newer canon, just because it's so fascinating how it's done, you know? I don't want my actions to place you at risk. We'll work together, try to be careful until we can fix this. We need to sever it now. Sever your body! No. At your age, you could die at any moment, especially considering the way you act. I will not allow my life to be tied to some half-dead delusion. You just gotta read all these options. Like, these are some pretty edgy options. What can I do? I don't want my actions to place you at risk.
When battle is upon us, I suspect our minds are prepared enough to shield each other from the pain. I think we shall not have a repeat incident of what happened at Paragus.
So in actuality, together we are stronger than we are apart. How could this bond have happened? Does our connection have any advantages? And holocrons were in the Jedi histories. Well, I mean, Revan and Bastilla had it in the last game. Kind of, I think. I'm pretty sure they did. How could this bond have happened?
I confess its nature eludes me as well, but the bond is strong, and its roots run deep. It seems the Force flows easily between us. When one of us manipulates the Force to heal or strengthen ourselves, the other is aided as well.
You and Kreia possess the Force Chain special ability. When either of you uses a Force power on yourself, the other gains the benefit as well. That's cool.
A powerful technique indeed, though, as we have noticed, it has its drawbacks.
So, if I am upgrading these characters' Force abilities, I should give one character, like, say, 50% of the abilities, and I should give the other character the other 50% of the abilities. That way, we're not wasting points, and we can have all the abilities at our disposal. So I gotta figure out what abilities I want each character to have. Unless there's another Jedi we get in our party at any given point. I don't know about that, though. I need to know more about the Sith hunting us.
These Sith, they seek the death of all Jedi, as have all the Sith, since the Jedi Order was first split.
First split?
Yes. The Jedi Civil War is not the first one of its kind. Thousands of years ago, the Jedi had another civil war that split the Order. It was a terrible thing. A faction among the Jedi abandoned the teachings of the Order, following their own path. They waged war on their fellow Jedi, a war that raged across the galaxy. But these fallen Jedi were cast out, defeated, and they retreated to worlds in the Outer Rim. Over time, they took on the mantle of the Lords of the Sith, but in their hearts they never forgot the Jedi. The hatred for the Jedi Order burns in their veins like fire and echoes in their teachings. Revan tasted it, as Malak did.
So I guess thousands of years ago, the Jedi that first split might have been the Sith. I don't know. I remember looking up the foundational history of Star Wars. You know, when you look in your history books and you look at the section that talks about the Aztecs and the Vikings and stuff, like, that's the equivalent of that. And all I know is that in the beginning you had, like, and this is something the first game explores pretty prominently. You had the Kwa, you had the Kalumi, and you had, what was the third group? Oh, you had the Gree. You had the Gree, the Kalumi, and you had the Kwa. Of course, SWTOR infamously explores the Gree, which is really cool. I was hoping they'd explore the Kalumi, which are like these tiny people with big brains. And then you had the Kwa, which were lizard men who created teleporting portals. You know, star temples, I think is what they were. I was hoping they'd eventually explore that, but they didn't. These Sith continue the crusade. These Sith seem different. Are they following Malak's path?
In a manner of speaking, they are different from Malak in that they are concerned only with the destruction of the Jedi. For them, it is all that matters, all that ever mattered. It is a different war these Sith wage, a thing of silence and shadow. They strike from the darkness, hiding from the face of the galaxy until all Jedi are exterminated. After all the Jedi are gone, then the galaxy is theirs, no matter whether the Sith or the Republic rules. It is the dark side that shall reign, unchecked.
But see, that's the thing that will never happen, because in order for the dark side to exist, you need the light side. It's this constant, perpetual conflict. No one side can ever be extinguished. That's why there's always this balance. And whenever there's an imbalance, it eventually works itself away into a balance. You know, the Sith need an opponent. If the Jedi were exterminated, eventually the Sith would have their own conflict. They'd eventually split, and there'd be a huge Sith war. You know, you're never not going to have one or the other, unless it gets to the point where so few believe in their religion that nobody uses the Force at all. Which is interestingly where Force Awakens, you know, the new Star Wars trilogy is at now. Where there's not really an imbalance. Just next to nobody uses the Force anymore. Like, it's almost completely died out, you know. And I kind of want to see, maybe once 8 and 9 are finished, and once we get to 10, 11, and 12. By 10, 11, and 12, you know they're going to happen. If 7, 8, and 9 can happen, 10, 11, and 12 can happen. You know, by the time 10, 11, and 12 get to where they are, it'd be pretty neat if, say, like, the Jedi and Sith were completely done. But the Force is such a foundational part of Star Wars, I don't know if you could ever have a story without it. You know, it's nice to have these spin-offs like Rogue One that aren't about the Force, that mention it in a way. And Force Awakens is probably the closest thing we're going to get to that. But, like, that's the equivalent of where nobody uses the Force. You know, that's why the movie's called The Force Awakens. There's maybe, like, a handful of people in the galaxy who use the Force anymore. Whereas, in this era, thousands of people use the Force. You know, it's such a big deal. If those Resist assassins are the best the Sith have to offer, we have little fear. The Sith on Paragus knew some Force techniques, but they were extremely weak.
I believe them to be the result of special teachings. Their apparent weakness against you is evidence of this. Those Sith assassins can sense their prey through the Force. It is like a hunger. They feed and grow stronger when they are near Force sensitives. The stronger their prey is in the Force, the deadlier they become. As long as you were cut off from it, you were able to evade their sight. But after Paragus, I fear that you will be no longer shielded from their eyes, or the eyes of their masters. The stronger you grow, the more will come.
Are they all literally blinded? And the only way they can see is through the Force? I don't know. There were other questions I need to ask.
Ask.
What do we need? I need to know more about the Sith hunting us.
These Sith, they seek the death of all.
Okay, where do you ask that, actually? There was another Jedi Civil War?
Yes. The Jedi Civil War.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So what do we do now?
I do not know. The Sith struck more swiftly than I thought. and they will not stop until they have you in their grasp. If you fall, all the galaxy will echo it.
Yeah, this is a cool angle. At this point, I think I've seen every sort of story with the Force. I already said this a little bit, but like a story where there's a lot of Jedi, a lot of Sith, a few Jedi, a few Sith, one Jedi, a whole shit ton of Sith, almost no Jedi, almost no Sith. You know, it's kind of like they've done almost every scenario. I wish maybe they could do a bad guy story at one point where the galaxy's filled with Jedi and has a few Sith. Actually, no. That's the prequels. What the fuck am I talking about? That's the prequels. So yeah, they've pretty much done every scenario. There must be somewhere we can go.
It does not matter where we go. It is not the destination that matters. It is the journey.
Quote,
All
unquote.
paths will take us to the end, whatever it may be, and no matter how strongly we fight against it. For now, we are bound for Telos, and that is enough.
Where are we bound again? Telos. Can you say it again? Telos. Enough for what?
Before the war, Jedi who failed their training were sent to the fields of Telos to serve the galaxy, not as Jedi Knights, but as farmers and laborers. The destruction of Telos was complete. I doubt any Jedi remain. Yet there may be echoes of their passing. We shall see.
Does the Republic have a base on Telos? If we find no trace of Jedi teachings on Telos to help us, that plan seems weak. We don't have time to scour the entire planet for Jedi relics.
Then I am left with nothing more than we had already. My faith in you and your ability to meet what comes.
There's a lot to take in at once. Let me see what else I can ask. Can you tell me what has happened since the Mandalorian Wars?
Much has happened in the galaxy in your absence, and since the defeat of the Mandalorians at Malachor 5.
What happened after the war?
As you know, Revan and Malak went to war against the Mandalorians. As Revan and Malak fought the Mandalorians in battle after battle, in the end, the Mandalorians had taught them through conflict, shaped the Jedi, and turned them into...
Against the Republic. And that was the Jedi Civil War.
Revan and Malak, and all the Jedi that served them, turned against the Revan was ambushed by the Jedi and captured. Malak continued to wage war in his master's place, inflicting terrible wounds on the Republic. Wounds that bleed.
How were Malak and the Sith defeated?
As all Sith do, without a strong enemy, the Sith turned on each other. Revan escaped the Jedi and returned to finish Malak, and that was the end of the Jedi
Okay,
Civil
so the Jedi Civil War is KOTOR 1, clearly. Does Revan still live?
No one knows, certainly not I. Korriban lies in ruins, Revan is gone, and the blade of war he promised to stab into the heart of the galaxy has withdrawn. Where Revan wanders now, I do not know.
I guess with the destruction of Dantooine, or like how you know, they basically shot up Dantooine in the same way they shot up Terrace. I guess that really was what wiped out a lot of the Jedi. Revan saved the Republic. You're saying Revan abandoned the war. Revan turned against Malak. Revan abandoned the war.
It would seem that way from a certain point of view, perhaps. The Jedi Civil War left wounds that have yet to heal.
Malak and Revan should have crushed the Republic. There are other questions I wanted to ask you. Okay.
A culture's teachings, and most importantly the nature of its people, achieve definition in conflict. They find themselves too long did the Republic remain unchallenged. It is a stagnant beast that labors for breath, and has for centuries. The Jedi Order was the heart that sustained its sickness. Now the Jedi are lost. We shall see how long the Republic can survive.
Can anything be done to help the Republic?
We shall see. The Jedi Civil War cost the fleets of warships, soldiers, and people were lost. Entire planets were decimated.
Terrace and
their inhabitants
Dantooine
dead or refugees. It is a great burden for any. And this new threat. It is a quiet thing. Unlike the Jedi Civil War, it drives at something deeper than the strength.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the Republic is not part of this. The threat is directed against me, because I'm the last Jedi?
The Republic was never what was important, ever. It was but a shell that surrounds the Jedi, just as the teachings of the Jedi are a shell surrounding the heart of... You see, the war, the true war, has never been one waged by droids or warships or soldiers. The true war is waged in the hearts of all living things.
Light or dark?
Against our own. You are the battleground. And if you fall, the...
Damn, this is deep. This is philosophical. Now I'm looking at it, I guess the KOTOR era of Star Wars is very much akin to the Crusades. You know, historically, analogically, because when you get to the more modern Star Wars, like in the movies, it's more like how modern war be raged. You know, it's about overthrowing dictatorships and stuff, and having absolute control of the world or galaxy in this instance. Whereas these are religious wars. You know, Jedi and Sith is a religion. These are religious wars. It's interesting. There's a lot to take in at once and need time to reflect on this.
I would see to that fool in the cockpit and remind him of our destination. I would not want him attempting to veer from Telos.
The fool has a name. I'd like to start using it. He's not a fool, but it does feel odd to me. Just told me he is. I'll crack his skull into the bulkhead if he tries. Will do. Go see him now. Okay. Influence lost. Alright, so Kira seems to be more of the dark option, but we're still learning. We're still learning. She is an interesting character.